You caught us in the middle of an adventure for this live. Remember, we go live every Sunday, 12 Eastern Time. Man, we left Maryland yesterday, went to Rockingham, North Carolina. We shot a collab this morning with my boy Sam Stokes over at Top Gun Strength and Performance Gym in Rockingham. Then we jumped in the car. We just got to Myrtle Beach. So we pulled into the parking lot here at Myrtle Beach. Today, we are talking about how much weight you should lift to get the best results. This is a good question. We get this question all the time. What do you think, Camille?
Absolutely. So we're going to explore today not only how do you choose the right weights when you're lifting, but also is there a way to gauge that? So we're going to talk a lot about the rate of perceived effort, and then we're going to give you some really practical tips for how you can apply and put all of that together to make sure you're getting all those gains, y'all. So definitely going to be a great topic. So buckle up. Let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
So first things first, let's talk about why it's important, like why weight selection matters when you're lifting.
And it matters. You don't want to waste your time. So you don't want to lift the wrong amount of weight.
Yeah, I think, selecting the right weights plays a significant role in muscle hypertrophy and trying to gain muscle size. And for three real reasons there. Like number one, mechanical tension, right?
Yeah.
Like your goal in the gym is to lift heavy weights to create mechanical tension on those fibers. Like that's the whole point of having muscle, right? Is so you can exert force to move your limbs, basically, to move something, right? So you have to be able to create that mechanical tension and apply it to the muscle fibers.
Right.
Not only that, muscle fiber recruitment is really important too. If you're trying to lift heavy weights and gain muscle, the more fibers you can actually recruit to help you lift the weight, the better off you are, and the more adaptation you'll have over time.
The more gains you're going to make. Remember, your muscle fibers fire in all or nothing fashion. So if you don't fire them, they just rest.
Right, exactly.
You want to recruit them all, not some.
All. Yeah. And then the third piece to why weight selection matters is just you want to create metabolic stress. In fact, this might be the most important one on why weight selection matters. Like we're not there just to lift weights. Like we're there to create that adaptation that leads to hypertrophy, leads to muscle growth. Right. So if you're not lifting heavy enough and creating that metabolic stress on your nervous system,
trauma.
Yeah, it's that trauma James talks about, right? Well, then you're not going to promote muscle growth. And so that's why this topic is that important.
Correct. And forget about stress. That's not enough. You need trauma.
Trauma.
Create trauma in your muscles to make the gains.
Absolutely. So how do you get that trauma, right? So let's start talking about load selection in different rep ranges. So there's lifting for strength. Obviously, most of the time that's in the 1 through 5 rep range.
Yep.
Like you're really just trying to pick up the heaviest weight possible, kind of like your 1 rep max. So as bodybuilders or weightlifters, we don't always train for strength. This is something we do periodically. Like maybe we've hit a plateau, so we'll try to focus on strength training for a while just to push past that and to be able to lift heavier.
Yes, if you've heard the term periodization, that's what we're talking about. So you go and build hypertrophy for 8 to 10 weeks, and then you go to a strength program for 8 to 10 weeks before you come back to the hypertrophy program.
Right. But the other two kind of rep ranges I want to talk about is one, a more moderate approach. This would be for hypertrophy. This is really what we're talking about on this channel. That's the 6 to 12 rep range.
Yeah.
So
air conditioning vent, and now we're back.
Yeah. All right. So I don't even know where we were. We were talking about the hypertrophy rep range, that 6 to 12 rep range.
You said you had 2 other ones.
Yeah. Well, there's one other one, and that that's going to be high reps, right? So that is 15 plus, right in that range. Usually that's for endurance. But one thing I will say, there's a lot of science throughout time, and it shows whether you're more moderate 6 to 12 or high rep 15 plus, you can still gain muscle size. So both of those rep ranges are really okay for trying to gain muscle, but the strength one's usually not, right?
Yeah, if you look at the science, it'll tell you, your optimal range for hypertrophy 6 to 12, but you can achieve hypertrophy all the way up to 30 reps.
Right. So this will all come into play in a little bit here. So we're going to come back to why that, part of the discussion was important. But the next part we want to talk about is, all right, great. So we told you how many reps to do, but still we haven't answered the question, like how much weight should you lift, right?
That's a good question, yeah.
So let's talk about a practical way to gauge that. So to me, I think the best way to do that is this idea of the rate of perceived exertion, right? RPE. So RPE is basically just a subjective scale that you can use to assess how hard the exercise feels during the workout.
If you caught the word, it's perceived.
Yeah, so anytime something's perceived, it's definitely subjective. But it's kind of interesting because this actually originated by Gunnar Borg. I don't know if I said that right.
Scale.
Yeah, it's the Borg scale. It was introduced in 1962, I want to say. And basically, at the time, it was introduced as a way to track cardiovascular training. So they looked at like how breathless you were, how fatigued you were during physical activity. And then originally, I think that scale was actually on the 6 to 20 range, but then they modified it. So we have what's called now the modified Borg scale, and it runs 1 through 10. So basically they simplified it and extended it for weightlifting. So basically a 1 represents no effort at all, whereas a 10 is like maximal effort.
All right, y'all. So let me break that down for you. Basically, some nerd had to put a scale on perceived effort.
I like my numbers, y'all.
Right, and the people that do like the numbers, here we go. We nerded it up for you, y'all. Right. So the Borg scale, somebody just put numbers to perceived effort is all that is.
So basically another question naturally would be like, all right, great, but like what is that physical sensation or cue that I know that I'm either at a 1 or a 10? So there are some physical sensations that I think lifters experience.
Yes.
You kind of have to pay attention to how your muscles are feeling during that set as you're lifting. So for example, like, are they fatiguing? Are your muscles burning? Like that burning usually means you're building up lactic acid, which is an indicator that you're exerting effort, right?
Correct. And if you're not fatiguing, you aren't going hard enough.
Absolutely.
If you just go all day long, you got the wrong weight.
Yeah, in fact, if you're, lifting comfortably,
you got the wrong weight.
You got the wrong weight. You probably need to do more reps, or if like you hit that 10th or 12th rep and you're like, yeah, this wasn't really that challenging. Well, then, yeah, you're probably pretty low on that Borg scale. You're definitely not, in that 6 to 8 or even anywhere close to 10.
You go ahead and chalk that as a warm-up set and get your real set next one.
Definitely.
Like some of the other physical.
Yes, some of the other physical indicators might be like your body temp starts rising. So you might be perspiring more, sweating.
Yes. If you get through a workout without sweating, you did it wrong. You did not go near hard enough. I don't care what the temperature is.
Right.
It can be 50 degrees in that gym. If you didn't break a sweat during that hour workout, you picked the wrong weights and your perceived intensity was way too low.
Absolutely. Another good thing is just looking at your breathing patterns and your speech, right? So if you can speak comfortably the way I'm speaking with you guys now, then yeah, come on guys, like your RPE is probably really low. Like you should only be able to answer yes, no questions. Really just like a grunt here and there is all that should be able to come out.
I trained a girl one time and she said, I never get out of breath lifting weights unless I'm with you.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's a very good indication you're not putting in enough effort. The weights are too low.
Right. Another thing too, like you can look for elevated heart rate. A lot of people have Fitbits or Apple Watches. Like you can actually look at your heart rate. It should be elevated over your baseline. So those are all good like experiences. I know for me, right, I'll just share my personal experience with this because you could say all day long that you're lifting at like an 8 or a 10, but I think it's pretty rare for people to be able to lift to that excruciating level.
It's very rare.
Yeah. In fact, like most of the time you need a personal trainer or some kind of like external stimulus to help get you to that point. But for me personally, like when I'm pushing my limits to try to reach a 9 or a 10, for me, it's almost like tapping into this primal energy.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like my whole nervous system is completely lit up. Like I'm completely connected to my muscle, and it's like electrifying. I don't know how else to explain it other than like you just feel electrified. Like imagine standing at the edge of your own capabilities where like you've transcended your physical self. Like not to get all crazy, but that's kind of how it feels. It's almost like this out-of-body experience to be at a 9 or a 10.
So yeah, the way I describe it is I felt a little more than human during that workout. I was a little bit more than myself during that workout. And this is where the breakdown for most people happen, y'all. This is where the gains stop. People don't understand what intensity is. People don't understand gut-busting effort. People don't understand, man, I had to give everything I got to get that 10th rep. I get the question all the time. These science nerds aren't big. They have the knowledge. They definitely have the knowledge. I watch a lot of them on YouTube, but they're not big at all. They have nice little physiques, but they're not putting on big, massive muscles because the breakdown, they're, analytics. So they're doing 10 reps and go, I just did the prescribed 10 reps. I'm good to go. Hey, Kylie. Yeah. So they did the prescribed reps, but they didn't understand, the intensity that they had to put into that. And let me give you my personal experience.
Big T.
Big T, what's up, baby? Back when I was first starting out, I looked at Ronnie Coleman's leg workout, and I've given this example before. He did squats, deadlifts, and leg press, 3 exercises. And I looked at that. I said, I'm doing triple that, y'all. I'm doing lunges. I'm doing
gains,
front squats. I'm doing all this. No.
Right.
The breakdown was I was too new to understand the effort he was putting into those 3 exercises, the intensity that he was bringing into those 3 exercises, and the intensity I was not bringing to those 3 exercises. Because believe me, I was doing those 3 exercises as well as a bunch more. But if your intensity level's right, if the weight you're lifting is right, you do squats, deadlifts, leg press, you're done.
Absolutely. So yeah, those are great examples. And I, like James said, I think it's rare for people to try to take themselves, but that's where we're kind of asking you to go if you truly want to gain muscle size.
If you need help, get a trainer. Even if it's for 1 session, and say, check my intensity. Check my intensity. Is this the right weight? If it's a good trainer, they should be able to tell you, nah, man, you didn't put in max effort on that. You need to go heavier.
Absolutely.
Good trainer knows. And you don't have to say anything or do anything. They can look at you and know.
All right, so let's put this all together. So remember I said, the rep range and all that mattered and tied into this whole idea of rate of perceived effort. So putting it together, let's say you are training for strength because you're, doing a periodization for your training. So if you're targeting those low reps, 1 to 5, well then your load range right out the gate should be about 80 to 90% of your 1 rep max, which equates to about an 8 or a 9, right? So right away, that first rep, it should feel very heavy, y'all. Like it should be close to maximal effort. And by the time you reach towards that 5, you should be a 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. And mentally, most people are going to lift it 1 time and say, I'm done. That was heavy. That was hard. I'm done. But they still have 5 reps left in the tank. This is where this separates the elite from the average, y'all. Trust me. I've been in the industry 26 years now. I see it all the time. I've trained trainers where they did 10 reps and, ooh, that was hard. I'm good. That's a good set. And I go, no, that was your warm-up set.
We're going to do it 3 more times now.
That was your warm-up set. Now we're going to do a real one with heavier weights. But in their mind, man, that was hard. What do you mean that wasn't hard enough? You can go harder. Trust me. You can go harder. You can push yourself. You can lift more weights. Your body doesn't want to. It's going to tell you to stop. Your mind's going to tell you to stop. You have to overcome all these things and lift that heavy weight.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's actually talk about our hypertrophy range, our 6 to 12 reps, right?
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, this is a moderate rep range. So your load's going to vary based on your individual strength, but in general, I would say 60 to 85% of your 1 rep max is the weight you should be lifting. And so on the Borg scale, that's about a 6 or 8. So we're not ending at a 6 or 8, y'all. We are starting our reps, and we're going to be at about a 6 to 8. So you're like above the halfway point of maximum effort. And by the time you hit that 10th or 12th rep, you are 10 out of 10.
Yep.
So just think about that. Like as you go to grab whatever weight or select whatever weight you're doing, like you should already be at a 6 to an 8. So, I mean, that's pretty challenging. That's pretty gut busting already right out the gate.
Yeah, you better believe it. And, if you've been watching, we've been saying track your weights. So you should already know, hey, this is max effort, but I'm coming in to add another rep.
Right.
You should already know that.
We got a question from Commando Slayer. He asked, is it normal to feel horrible anxiety? I think it's when he stops lifting for a while.
When you take a break for a while. Yes, so working out and lifting weights is very good for your mental health. It will help. I mean, there's not anything better for depression, anxiety, etc., etc. So many mental health issues you will overcome just by staying consistent in the gym. Believe me, everybody has ups and downs, including me. The first thing I do when I'm feeling down is cardio. And guess what? By the time I'm done, I usually feel better. That fixes it.
Absolutely. And it definitely causes anxiety if James can't get to the gym, right? Like if he's somewhere and there's no gym, no way to work out, like it does make him anxious. Like it's part of his just part of his life at this point. So something's definitely missing if he can't get that exercise in. So that can be a source of anxiety. Like you have that longing to be back at the gym. So yeah, it makes you a little anxious if it's something you can't do, or maybe you just like get anxious because you're like, I've been gone for too long, so I already know I'm going to lose strength, right?
And then you start are going away.
Yeah, you start getting in your head a little bit.
Yep.
So, and we actually have a really great live that talks about how long it takes to lose strength and how long it takes to actually lose muscle size. So check out that live if you get a chance.
Yeah, but the best thing you do is stay consistent. And like I said, everybody goes through stuff in life. And mental health, the best thing you can do for your mental health is get out there and work out.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's talk about higher rep ranges. This is your 15 plus, right? So 15 plus, this is probably 50 to 70% of your 1 rep max. It's pretty lightweight. And so when you're starting out, you should be about a 4 to 6 on that Borg scale. So like it feels pretty moderate. Like you feel like just starting out like, hey, I could go for a long time. But again, as you progress through that rep range closer to that 15, 20 reps, whatever you're doing, like it should increase on that Borg scale until you're, closer to that 9 or 10 at the end of the day.
Right. It's pretty common sense, y'all. You're doing 20 reps, you're going to have to start with a lighter one. To get the same intensity, you're doing 6 reps.
Yeah, but I think James called it. Like I know in my logbook, as I'm doing something like maybe I'm doing shoulder press, like when I'm done, I hit that last rep, I put a little note like could have kept going. In fact, if I could keep going, I probably will do more reps. Like even if it means training at 15 plus, I'll keep going and then just put a note like, hey, next time that was way too light. Like that wasn't enough effort.
Yep.
And then I'll raise the weight, or I'll put a little note like, hey, this was slightly too heavy. Like I couldn't hit my rep range. So I know that the next time I'm doing it, I probably need to dial it back a little bit.
Yep.
So, all right. Hopefully that kind of clears up like what weight to select, or how do you know which weight to pick when you're lifting.
It probably did not, because like we said, you can hit hypertrophy with 6 reps, you can hit hypertrophy with 20 reps. We preach Mike Mentzer, so Mike Mentzer's low reps, 6 reps, heavy weight. To me, that's the most efficient way to do it. But I'm 47 years old.
Yes.
I'm not going to keep pushing these heavy weights like crazy. So when you get a little older and you got an injury, don't think you can't hit a little bit lighter, go higher reps, and still get hypertrophy, y'all. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there for people over 40, over 50 that say don't lift heavy weights. Go to that higher rep range to save your joints. So there's definitely more than one way to hypertrophy. Just keep that in mind. And to me, the best thing would be periodization.
Absolutely.
6 to 8 reps for 10 weeks, then go to 20 reps for 10 weeks. Just make sure you progressively overload,
Right.
no matter what your rep range is.
So y'all, I actually want to hear from you. I want you guys to type in the comments, like, what are those physical cues or sensations that you feel when you're at what you consider to be your maximal effort? Because I think it's always an interesting thing, and hey, maybe we can all learn from each other of when to know you've hit that sweet spot.
Yeah, like I said, you know, if you're not sweating and huffing and puffing after a set, that wasn't even hard. That was a warm-up set.
Right. Well, thank you for being patient with us, y'all.
Yes.
We appreciate you while we're on travel. We are definitely taking some time off the next several days.
Much needed.
Yes, enjoying that 4th of July holiday here. But we still have a great lineup of videos dropping for you all week long, and we will definitely catch you next Sunday live. Thank you for the safe travel wishes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We really enjoyed you. Until next time, Camille and James, 88 Fitness Training. Bye, y'all.